Whether you are new to Newberg or you're a longtime Newberg resident, there's a good chance that you're familiar with the Old Fashioned Festival, which I believe is the largest event in Newberg each year. But many people are not aware just how much is happening over this 4-day festival or how far back this tradition goes. So in this episode, I'm talking with Newberg Old Fashioned Festival President Richard Silver about this festival, what it is, how it started, why it's important for our community, along with an overview of what to expect at the festival itself. Hi, I'm Daniel Roberts, a local realtor in Newberg, a member of the Newberg New Rotary Club, an ambassador for our Chamber of Commerce, City Club member, and I also have a separate YouTube channel about Newberg and real estate. And actually, one of the most recent videos I did was about all the events happening in July. And the main part of that video was actually about the Old Fashioned Festival itself. I was shocked at how much is happening over this festival. So if that's something you're interested in, which I highly recommend everyone go to the festival this year, go ahead and check that video. I go through almost every single event happening. And in this podcast, we'll be giving an overview, but that video is just more specific. This podcast is also brought to you by my real estate team, the Jothel Roberts Group, and we are a locally run real estate team here in Newberg, Oregon, licensed under Premier Property Group. So make sure that if you have any needs of buying or selling real estate that you reach out to us. We absolutely love helping our community out in that way. And it's one of the things that brings us joy. And on that note, spreading joy is really what this podcast is all about. Sharing stories of hope, generosity, and joy, obviously being a part of that in Newberg and the surrounding area. The reason I do this is because I want to help inspire people. I want people to get involved, and I want people to have hope for our future. There are so many reasons to hope. There's so many amazing things happening here. There's so many great organizations. So I hope you check out some of the other podcasts, and I hope you enjoy this conversation with Richard Silver as we discuss the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival. All right. Well, Richard, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to talking about the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival and your involvement with that. And I know a lot of people in Newberg know what it is to a degree, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me here. It's great to be able to connect with the community this way. And my hope is that through today's session that we'll be able to give more insight to what the community and what Old Fashioned Festival means to the community and how the community can be involved with it.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned, I'm trying to think of when this episode will record, because I just recorded one. So we'll figure that out. Whenever this is out, it'll be out. It'll be 2 or 3 weeks from now, I think. But I actually just released, I was mentioning to you earlier on my YouTube channel, which is kind of separately about real estate and Newberg stuff, that I did a whole video about July events, half of which was the Old Fashioned Festival. Yeah. And I learned so much just from looking into what events were actually happening that it kind of made me wonder how many people don't really know all that's involved in the Old Fashioned Festival. And my guess is a lot. Most people I've talked to personally only know like, oh, well, there's some booths and there's some food. And I think, isn't there a parade? That's kind of the extent of people, especially because like the carnival hasn't been here for 4 years. So right. I really look forward to sharing with the community what this event is and kind of what it's all about and why it's such a special thing for our town. So can you kind of in a nutshell just begin by explaining what Newberg Old Fashioned Festival is?
Absolutely. So let me kind of set the stage and then we can do some backstories and some history.
Okay.
So really the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival, the whole season kind of happens once the court is selected. And that usually takes place in the middle of March. And then once the court is selected, then they go and they start getting ready for all their appearances. And their first public appearance happens during the community Easter egg hunt.
Okay.
And so that really is the first time that the court gets to get out, get with the public, and be able just to kind of start shining in a little bit. But as we get closer to July, and we kind of consider that as the big ramp up towards the festival, the court is really starting to get out to start pushing the festival. They're out doing like the first Friday walks, art walks on Friday evening. And then they'll make several appearances at the Wednesday night market. And that's a great place for them to be able to interact with the vendors and the market people there and just be able to visit and say, hey, come see us at the festival. And then you may see them maybe a couple of times at the Tunes on Tuesday and being able to just network with the crowd there and enjoy the entertainment that's there. And along the way, they'll also do some other appearances at other parades. So last weekend, they just did the Carlton Fun Day Parade, which is fun for them because you get to see the court just embracing and they're so enamored by the experience of being in a parade and waving to all the viewers of the crowd, and that's fun. And so the next big event that they're coming up on is the St. Paul Rodeo, which is this coming weekend, and they're really excited about that. And then the Sherwood Robin Hood Festival follows after that. So by the time they get to the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival, they would have already had 3 parades under their belt. So they'll be very, very experienced of how to do the parade waves and just smile, and their cheeks are going to be hurting. But that really, when you think about what's involved with the festival, the buildup that the royal court helps build that excitement by their appearances. Everyone who sees them, they get all excited because you have this royalty walking down through town, or they're showing up at their events. And that naturally prompts questions. So that allows them to interact with the public and say, oh yeah, the festival's at the end of July. Come out and see us because we'll have the carnival. We will have the parade, vendors, food, the music, just fun things for the whole family. And so that's really what we want to be able to promote, is the fact that this is a community-wide event that has been going on for so long that for a lot of families, it's a tradition that they come back. And so that's really exciting for us to be able to help promote.
Yeah. So with the court, for maybe people like myself who don't really understand the significance of that, or what the court even is or what it represents, can you share some about that?
So the court is, if I were to put it this way, is in some ways the face of the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival and quote unquote the community as well. Because when you see the court, there's that immediate association that, oh, you're with the court, so you must be with part of the festival. And so they kind of go hand in hand. And so that in itself is self-promotion regarding the festival. So when we set the young ladies out and they start walking the streets, or they go to different events in different communities, there's that immediate representation and association with the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival. And they wear that very proudly.
Yeah. So what is the court, though?
The court is in regards to who represents it.
Yeah, like who represents it? What are the different positions? How do they get the positions of being on the court?
Absolutely. So the court in past has been 3 young ladies who applied for being on the court. This year, we've taken it one step further and we've added a junior court. So we have 3 young ladies who are on the junior court and 3 young ladies on the senior court. And so they go through an application process where they fill out an application. They have to be able to do a written essay. They have to have letters of recommendation. They have to meet a minimum GPA to be able to get onto it, as well as they have to go through an interview process with the panel of interviewers to be able to represent themselves. And then through a rubric, a grading system, the interviewer panel chooses based on the rubric and point system of how they get onto the court.
Okay. Interesting. So in some ways, is it kind of like a pageant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And we want to make sure that they are represented best on the merit of how they bring themselves, how they conduct themselves. And really the rubric really shares and tells the panelists exactly how they are selected.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, you mentioned that the Old Fashioned Festival has been going on for quite a long time. How long has it been going on?
Exactly. So we are over 100 years, and the information that I have goes as far back as 1937,
wow,
which is the post-Depression. And that's when the Berrien Festival started. And oddly enough, the Berrien Festival had a close relationship to the Rose Festival. So there was a lot of partnership going on between the 2 festivals. As time went on, the Berrien Festival in 1941, the group dropped its name and wanted to be more supportive of the local community, which was predominantly a lot of farmers out in this area. So then they tried to change the name to Farmer-Roo. So for a couple of years, they tried that, and it didn't take. Wasn't able to gain any ground. So therefore, the Berrien Festival took it back. And then in 1975, the Berrians disbanded. And so between 1975 and 1977, there was no festival. There wasn't any activity. And then in 1978, the Chamber of Commerce actually started the Newberg Old Fashioned Days. And so for several years, it acted as a new Newberg Old Fashioned Days. And then in 1981, the name was officially changed to Newberg Old Fashioned Festival. And it's been that ever since.
Wow.
And so that's kind of a nutshell as far as the history regarding the festival.
Yeah, that's really cool. I knew it was old, obviously old in the name. I didn't realize it was, even pushing on 100 years. And so you mentioned was it 1937 is where you first have data from? So it's kind of like unknown what happened before that?
Exactly. And it's interesting when I talk to, when I say old timers, I'll talk about the older generation here in the community. When I talk about the Old Fashioned Festival, many of them will say, well, I remember when it was the Berrien Festival. So you know that they remember it even as early as the mid-40s and even the 50s. So it's interesting to talk to them about what happened way back when. It's always intriguing to hear their stories and how much that they were involved or how much the community was all involved with that.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool because through the process, like I said, I've learned so much about this, and it's really exciting for me because I've got young kids, and I'm really looking forward to this year. Especially, there's something really special happening this year that hasn't happened in 4 years. So can you share about what's changed? I mean, obviously, COVID threw all of this for a loop. And were you with the Old Fashioned Festival the whole time? From maybe a question is, when did you start with Old Fashioned Festival?
Sure. So I started officially with the festival in 2019.
Okay.
When my side business photography company was given the permission to be the official festival photographer for the weekend. And so that's when we were able to interact with all the volunteers and just the guests, and as well as the royal court at that time. And we were so enamored by that experience. And when the announcement was made by current chairperson Brian Love, he had indicated that he was going to be stepping down from the role and needed someone to step up. So during the whole weekend, I just kind of let that fester and just keep in the back of my mind. And then when the festival was done, my wife and I looked at each other and were like, this is something that we would really enjoy doing. So I got in touch with Brian and shared with him that I'd be interested in taking on that role and, try and work with the committee and all that stuff. So really, we were set for me to shadow him the following year, because that would have been the 40th anniversary for the festival.
In 2020?
Yes. And exactly. And so we were set to go, and we were just ready, and we were ramping up, and we were going out to meet some business partners to start the sponsorship campaign. And then all of a sudden, as you know, COVID hit, and that really put a monkey wrench in our steam, because all of a sudden we felt like we just had the brakes put on and there was nowhere we could go. So with that said, it was a real big struggle. It was frustrating because I know how much we wanted to put on the festival, but we also needed to do the right things as per the requirements that were being pushed out from the governor at the time. So unfortunately, we did have a festival at that time. And then the following year, I'm trying to do my math. So the following year, 2021, we said, let's try and do some soft things, meaning let's not, because at that time, and let me back up, in 2020, we tried to do things that were completely virtual. Like we had people submit virtual pictures of like some floats that they made. We tried to do a virtual dog show and partnered with Bow Wow up in Sherwood. And that was successful for Animal Shelter and Bow Wow, just because Bow Wow Camp, because they were able to do things virtually. But as far as the overall community involvement virtually, that was really tough. 2021, we started to do something a little more in person, because the regulations started to be more relaxed, meaning outdoor events. So we were able to have the Rotary breakfast over the weekend. And that was great because people could spread out in the whole park, and we could be able to just let people come out and try and find that normal, whatever that normal was at that time. And then the great thing is we also were able to partner with Western Display and have a fireworks that weekend as well. So though we weren't able to come back full swing, at least we were able to do a little bit of a little small chip on the ball and be able to give some sort of activities in the park, and then be able to do a fireworks display Saturday evening. Mm-hmm. And then come 2022, as you know, we were able to come back full steam. And the carnival, of course, was the only contention that we weren't able to bring back. And that was only because the carnival companies were, one, they've lost a lot of their staffing because during COVID, they'd had to go and find jobs, or because of the companies were so slow, they either had to lay off. And so the inability for them to go out and stay busy was tough. So they had to make the decision of doing one major event each year. And so, such as like a state carnival and, St. Paul Rodeo and some bigger ones. So that was hard to understand, but it made sense. So this year, we really got lucky, and one of the committee members reached out to Davies Entertainment company and said, "Hey, are you guys available this weekend?" And sure enough, they're like, "This is the weekend that we actually are available. So we'll come out, we'll support you guys, but really let's make this count, because we really want to make sure that it benefits both parties." So we are excited to have the carnivals this year. I really want to encourage everyone to come out. Carnival bracelets or wristbands will be coming out for sale in July. More information is to come, and we'll let you know on the website and Facebook and all that. And so just come out and support the carnival crew and the staff, and let them know we really appreciate having them there. And that really does kind of solidify the whole package at the festival being back in full swing.
Well, and it's exciting because this is the first year in 4 years it's been back. So we moved after graduating from George Fox. We were out of town for a while, came back in 2019 after being gone for a few years, and started getting involved in, different organizations and stuff, and didn't go to Fashion Festival in 2019. And so 2020 would have been the first year, but I guess 2021, we've kind of been there for things coming back. And my kids are only 4 and 2. And so they have they would have been like infants anyways, my oldest.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting because anyone who's, like 7, 8, 9, like in that range, they would have been too young for the most part to remember. So I think this is going to be really exciting, and I want as many people as possible to know about it. Because people have only known the Old Fashioned Festival to be, hanging out in Memorial Park and eating breakfast. Yeah. There's actually a lot more to it. So could you also share just some of the highlights of what's going on for people who may not know that it's more than just some vendors and a pancake breakfast and a parade?
Absolutely. It's more than just a pancake breakfast, vendors, and a parade. Just to kick things off and to kind of give you a full kind of picture, in the Memorial Park, we will have the food vendors. We'll have what I call marketplace vendors, but are craft vendors. So, and also live music throughout the weekend. Northwest Christian Church will also have several of their blow-up equipment, bounce houses there in the corner of the Memorial Park. So that'll be really exciting to have. So families that are eating during the festival, while they have young kids, they can be able to go and just play on the bounce houses, and then when they're done with that, they're welcome to go down to the carnival and partake in that. We'll also have a covered pavilion where we have what is called Kids Gizmo, which allows kids to play with scientific toys and a lot of hands-on experiment for all ages. Honestly, it's a lot of fun, and even we see adults in there playing with these little gadgets. So
I was one of those adults.
There you go. We always are going to be kid at heart, so we'll take advantage of that. We'll always have food there. I already mentioned that. And then, let's see, Friday evening, no, I lied, that's a joke. Thursday evening, the festival actually gets kicked off at 6 o'clock with the children's parade, which is sponsored by Knapp's Thriftway. So appreciative of Knapp's being able to provide all the snacks and the beverages for the kids in the parade. But that's fun because the kids can come out and just dress up. And they don't even have to dress up. They can just be in the parade. And the staging for that takes place at 5. So they can come out and just really, it's a nice little long loop around the corridor. And it's just fun for them to get out. They get to have the court in there, and they ride in the fire truck, and they'll go around with them.
Now, can you share really quick? You mentioned them dressing up, and for what I saw, there's a theme, right? For this year. I don't think we discussed that yet.
Yeah.
So what are they dressing up as, and how does that relate to this year's theme?
So that's a good question. And that's one of the challenges that the committee has when we're coming up with themes, because ideally you want to have a theme that it's easy to dress up to. But as we come out of COVID, we kind of, I won't say shifted our vision, but like last year's theme was a portrait of our community, which we wanted to be able to kind of display what our community looks like and how we've had to come together during the season. And so now that we're into our sophomore year out of COVID, per se, we wanted to still capture what our community is. So the theme this year is small town, big dreams. And so what we wanted that to encompass is, even though Newberg is growing, we are still a small town, but we also have big dreams of being a very viable community. We do have a community of awesome people with leaders and just community and neighborhoods that we still want to come together, and we want to make Newberg a great place to come to, visit, live in, and just have fun as a community. And so that's where our big dream is, and what can we do to make Newberg a great place? And we continue to keep bouncing off of that and moving forward with that. So my hope is that moving forward, the theme can become more fun and stuff like that. So to answer your question, how do you make a costume around big dreams in a small town? Well, it could be perhaps, do we have the bigger balloons, or do we make our floats a little bigger? Our costumes, are they, bigger? That's a good question. And that's something that we'll be looking forward to what those who participate in the parade. A side note, I was talking to one of the directors in Marcom at George Fox University, and she was saying, we've got a very big Pennington Bear, blow-up bear, the mascot, and would he be too big to be in the parade? And the answer is yes. He's 20 feet tall. So,
oh, wow.
And the normal ODOT height regulations is 13 feet. So definitely we will not have the big Pennington Bear, George Fox Bear in the parade. But that would have been good. That would have been a big dream to have. So
So as far as how the kids dress up and then for the parade, so what will they be dressing as?
That's a good question. I don't even know that.
Okay. Well, from what I saw, I'll answer from what I could be wrong. From what it looked like on the website, they were dressing as superheroes. So kind of their big dreams is like, what do you want to be when you grow up, or what would you wish you could be?
Yeah.
So the idea is dressing up as one of their, heroes, whether that is a real hero or just a, fictional superhero.
Yeah.
So that may have changed since I saw it, but either way, they can dress up as whatever they want, or not dress up at all, it sounds like.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, who doesn't want to be a superhero? And if that's your dream, or if your dream is to be like a race car driver, if you want to put in like a small little toy, Bigfoot or a little race car, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah.
Like I said, the world's your oyster. Be creative as you want, and just come and have fun with us.
Yeah. So it kicks off with the parade. And I know we went on a bit of a detour. So the parade's on Thursday night with the Knapp's Thriftway Children's Parade.
Yes.
And then from there,
we have the dog costume show, and that'll be taking place after that. And then that's an opportunity to come down, see the dogs, and how the owners will dress up their dogs and everything. And then after that will be the coronation ceremony, which is where the court will be up on stage, and then their fathers will crown them and publicly. And that's an exciting time for the public to see the court up front and personal, and get a chance to see them officially becoming royalty. And then right after that, Ben Rice and the Portland Hustle Band will be taking on the stage after that and taking us throughout the rest of the evening. And so that'll be Friday night. People can enjoy his music, and then the food, and just the evening as well. And then I can take you into the rest of the weekend if you'd like. Or
yeah, sure. What? And maybe we can do that, or for simplicity and maybe time's sake, the Old Fashioned Festival, trying to remember the website. I'll have it linked in the description for the podcast. There is a whole schedule listed out. And there's actually, so there's a schedule and there's a separate events tab where you can go and see every single event happening. Because, from listening to this, you may not, so maybe kind of highlight through some of what people can expect, and then they can go and learn more on the website.
Absolutely. So feel free to go to newbergoldfashionedfestival.org, and there you'll be able to see and click on all the events and activities that are happening, and a lot of things that I touched base on regarding the festival, regarding parade and all that stuff. You can be able to go and maybe see some past pictures that we have up there. You can also go to our Facebook page at the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival, and there we'll have a whole archive of all past pictures, present and past, and regarding to the festival and all of our activities that we do.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fun weekend. It's going to be packed. I'll probably have to talk to my wife about, okay, how much of this do we want to partake in? Because it'll exhaust our kids. And I'm the one who loves being out and doing everything. And she's more like, I think one event for the weekend.
We're done. What is that?
So we'll see with that. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So zooming out a little bit, maybe more of a 10,000 or 30,000 foot view, just with the festival as a whole, why do you think this is so important for our community?
Sure. So this is important. One, it's been a long running annual event. Like I said, has been at least known dated since 1937. And again, we had dates dating all the way back to 1889. So when you think about the longevity of what this event has been doing for the community, so it's not just, oh, hey, let's just put on an annual event. Let's put on an annual event that has been a generational. So when you talk about, like, for instance, last year, I think it was maybe 2021, I think one of the questions that was posed on Facebook group pages, what is one thing that you remember about the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival? And there are so many feedbacks say, oh, I remember going to the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival when I was a kid. Even when I remember when it was a Berrien Festival, So we know that if there are families who remember the Berrien Festival, again, even 1937, let's say, that in itself predates 42 years. So that's a whole nother additional, 20 years behind that, even 30 or 40 years behind that people remember. So you think, well, there's a timestamp that we're not even looking at. So to get a bird's eye view about the festival, it's much bigger than what we talk about today. It's talking about a multi-generational where families plan every year to come and visit this. And even though they'd long graduated and left the community for jobs or whatever, they still make a point to come back just to see this, to be a part of this festival, whether they participate or whether they just go as guests and attendees and then take in the festivities. So this is why when we put on this festival, we don't think of it as this is just for us today. It's for the community, for the masses, not only for Newberg, but for those who are in Dundee, those who are in Sherwood, Beaverton, and those who have expanded far beyond the Metro Newberg area, because a lot of our community has since rerouted and gone outside of Newberg. So that's why we look at it from the big scope of things.
Yeah. Well, and I think just having the community come together and celebrate what makes us a community is great too. And it's cool to hear that so many people leave and then come back just for this event. So I know it takes a lot to put on a festival like this. I'm sure you have been probably for a while, even since maybe after last year ended, starting to plan this year. And there's a lot of man hours and women hours that go into this. So what are some ways that people could get involved, maybe ways that the community could help out, or roles that maybe could be filled?
Absolutely. So to set the stage with that, it does take a village to make this thing happen. And we want to be able to encourage people and let people know that it's not a 5-person operation here. We have a committee that can be sometimes as small as 10, and we've had as many as 25. And we've got an executive board that helps make more executive decisions for big decisions. But in the grand scheme of things, every month, the festival committee meets together at Round Table Pizza, and we talk about planning, we talk about projecting, we talk about what's happening now. So once the festival ends, we kind of go on a hiatus for a month to kind of decompress from that whole weekend and planning. But come September, we hit the ground running and we start planning for the next festival. So for about 11 months, we're planning, scheming, and daydreaming about what we can do to make the next festival bigger, more attractive, and just, again, continuing that foundation that has been there. And the festival, the planning of it consists of everything from volunteers, not just volunteers for the committee, but volunteers out on the ground, which could be, I know it's a dirty job, but making sure the garbage sanitization is clean, the grounds are clean, making sure our guests are being taken care of. And that could just be a matter of, hey, how's it going? You enjoying it? Being that point person. Really, a lot of our groundwork that we need leading up to the festival is really trying to foster up relationship with our businesses here in the community, so that way they can feel a part of the festival and help contribute. It takes about anywhere between $95 to $100 and $3,000 to put this festival on. And so when you think about that kind of dollars, it takes a big commitment, not only from the team and the committee to reach out and bridge that relationship with our community, but it takes the community and the business, small businesses, to have that faith in the festival to say, we want to invest in this because we know it's a good cause. We know that this is something bigger than just one weekend, but it's a much bigger thing. So we're very grateful and very appreciative of any of the donations that we get from our small business and partnership here in the Newberg area. So when it comes to what it takes to be able to bring this festival together, it really is the committee and the volunteers who come together to make it happen.
So if people are wanting to help out or get involved, how can they do that?
Sure. They can be able to reach out to our email, which is Newberg Old Fashioned Festival @gmail.com, or they can also email the president's email, which is noff.president @gmail.com, which is noff.president@gmail.com. And they're welcome to email saying, hey, I'm interested. This is my talent. So this is what I enjoy doing. And we'll find a fit for you. And we'd love to be able to get you plugged in, whether it's big, whether it's small. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Richard, for sharing and you kind of had one of the hardest presidencies. That was the term of right before COVID and, to now. So I appreciate all that you've done. And, given your position with Newberg and everything that you've been involved with, one question I'd like to ask people just towards the end of the episode is, what gives you hope for the future of Newberg?
I'm so excited to be part of the community, for one. So just to just real quick, my wife and I moved to Newberg 7 years ago because I wanted to live closer in the community that I work in. I work at George Fox University. And so I think it's so important to be a part of that community that you have such investment in, whether you're working in worship or even commune with. And so I think that just grows the community stronger. And so I'm really excited. We have so many new families coming into Newberg. We have a lot of growth going off by the south part and the north part of Newberg. And Newberg is growing. So while we're trying to hold on to this small community that we used to have, don't be afraid to continue to keep those bridges and those ties. And I believe that Newberg is strong enough as a community that we'll hold on to each other. And I'm really excited to see where we're going to go in the next 5 to 10 years, because if we continue the path that we're going as a community, we can only be a bit bigger and stronger. And that's very exciting to see.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to the Old Fashioned Festival coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun, and look forward to sharing this with the community.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the Givingtown podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend who you think might benefit from hearing it. While more and more people are continuing to hear about this podcast, I still need your help to spread the message about all the people and organizations that make Newberg so great. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode.